Hi there, I'm Stephen Lepitak, editor of The Drum, and welcome to the latest in our series of Chip Shop Chats, where I talk to entrants to the Chip Shop Awards, the creative awards with no rules, around their entries, the ideas and the inspirations that got them to create what they've put into the awards this year. And I will ask my guest for this episode to introduce herself. Bea.
Hi, nice to meet everyone. I'm Beatrice Bara. I am a student at the University of the Creative Arts, and I have applied to the Chip Shop Awards for my first time this year.
Where are you right now, Bea?
Right now, I am in Vienna, Austria. I study in England, but I live here.
That's a bit of a commute.
Yeah, well, you know.
So can you, first of all, tell us what is the piece of work that you've entered to the Chip Shop Awards this year?
I have entered a Burger King campaign to the Best of Honesty category called the Realest Whopper.
And what inspired you to, first of all, where did the idea come from? Well, first of all, talk about where the idea came from and we can go into it.
Yeah, so when I first was presented with this brief, the problem in the brief itself was the fact that the Whopper was being accused of not being authentic. There was a lot of online rumors going about how Burger King is using its ingredients incorrectly, freezing their meat, painting on the grill marks, just ridiculous rumors that millennials and younger people were starting to believe and antagonizing the burger chain for no apparent reason. And my first thought was, this poor Whopper is being attacked for being inauthentic online when the attackers themselves are not their authentic selves online either. So there was a little bit of conflict there with authenticity.
So can you talk a bit about what it is that you came up with? What is the campaign?
So to put it short, I made the Whopper into an influencer. In the present times we live in, these online influencers, they are the gatekeepers of what's real and what's authentic. So people look up to these influencers because they dictate what the ideal of being real is. And in turn, these influencers are putting out fake information through this. So their ideals, they're inachievable in the end. If anyone can become an influencer, why not have a real one?
Continue, sorry.
I thought of putting the Whopper as the influencer itself, because the Whopper is telling the truth and has been telling the truth the whole time.
What do you think, or how do you imagine a Whopper as an influencer working? What would that look like?
Well, it's very surprising actually, because the Whopper has a very strong personality. It's the center of most of Burger King's very memorable advertisements. It's actually more used than the mascot itself, which is interesting in comparison to other food chains. Because in the end, the Whopper brings in more customers than the actual king. So I had to look into what the Whopper's personality might be. I even took some psychological personality tests as the Whopper to see what that would come out. But in the end, I came up with this protagonist personality type that is laid back, but really friendly at the same time and outgoing. Posting, pictures of what influencers might post, only telling the truth.
And what I like about the idea is Burger King and its marketing for the last few years has been very, very focused on online and trying to come up with new concepts. And it almost feels like an idea that if you were to take it to Burger King, they would consider, well, how do you think you would need to adapt it for it to work in the real world? Or do you think it could already?
I think the part that might be a little iffy is the idea of using unedited pictures. That was my idea for the Whopper's account. Since the Whopper would have the Realest account on Instagram, it would have completely unedited pictures. However, when you're a food chain, you want to have your food look appealing, and sometimes you need little editing in the photography to make it look the part. But otherwise.
So having realised the concept and you've created the brief, what do you think the potential for it is? You've entered this into the Chip Shop Award thinking, oh, it could be an award-winning idea. What do you think the potential for it could be?
Well, not only does the campaign itself use honesty in an interesting way, it is considered for the best of honesty, but it also uses honesty for the greater good. this campaign promotes being authentic on the internet in a provocative, ridiculous, and entertaining way that is hard to be ignored. And I know there's irony in the fact that, you know, a fake burger coming to life is realer than any other human on Instagram. But in reality, it does teach you how to be yourself more, and it loosens up the tension that is building up on these social platforms.
When it comes to the Chip Shop Awards, then, I said earlier, it's the one creative awards with no rules at all. So you were very free to create what you thought would be an effective campaign. What do you how is that important to you? How does that help you in terms of your ideas, but also your development?
Well, it's simply this. It allows me to think big, which is how I like to think anyway, but it gives me a lot of freedom. I can sit down and ask the wildest what-if questions, just set out to make something completely absurd and ridiculous, and see how I can reel that into the world of advertising and how they can change the industry.
Do you find, though, when you're given restrictions, when you're given a tight brief, though, that can be very creative as well, trying to overcome the challenges?
Yes,
of that?
sometimes it could be even more of a challenge.
Yeah.
A little restriction, yeah.
So, last question for you. How do you hope to see the role of the creative evolve in advertising? You're still very much at the start of your career. How do you hope that will evolve in the coming years?
Well, the way I see it is that it will become a lot broader to become personal. So ambiguity will take up a lot of the industry as advertising will become more and more sublime. People won't be able to tell as much as, you know, looking at a print ad and knowing it's an ad. It would be more interactive, more immersive in that sense. That's how I see it. So creativity will try to step down from being, you know, up there and like leveling with the audience, becoming the audience.
So you think there'll be more interactive creativity then?
Yes, for sure, more experience.
Yeah, certainly the way that we see the industry evolving, communications and creating community and brand building are all hand in hand now. So I think that'll be a great thing to see. So I hope you're right.
I hope so too. It would be a pretty cool future.
Well, good luck with the entry. We'll find out in the next few weeks when the nominations are announced. But thank you for joining us, and thank you to the audience for tuning in.